still standing, let's take the opening prayer, the second stanza of our national anthem. Let's recite together as we say, O God of creation, direct our noble cause, guide our leaders right, help our youth the truth to know, in love and honesty to grow, and living just and true, with lofty heights attain, to build a nation where peace and justice shall reign. Amen. You may be seated. Please, the cameraman, please, can you just give us some chance, please? Please, can we take our seats? Please, can we take our seats, please? Can we take our seats so that we can commence this program in earnest? The ushers, please, can you help us out? Thank you very much. Good morning, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Engineer Ben O.C. Oku. I'm going to be anchoring this program this morning. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the Nigerian Society of Engineers, an umbrella organization for the engineering profession in Nigeria, was founded on 16th February 1958 by a group of young, dynamic, ebullient, and resourceful Nigerian graduate engineers and students in the United Kingdom. Since then, the society has not just towered like an Iroko far above its contemporaries in every conceivable parameter, but has remained committed in promoting the advancement of engineering education, research, and practice in all its ramifications. As of today, the society ranks among the top in the Committee of Professional Bodies in Nigeria. This enviable position wouldn't have been possible without the great and wonderful efforts of our highly respected and highly revered fathers and heroes past, who dedicated all their lives toward the development of the engineering profession in Nigeria. This is the reason the Nigerian Society of Engineers, under the leadership of our dynamic and resourceful president, Engineer Otis Oliver Tabubo Anyeji, fellow Nigerian Society of Engineers, fellow Academy of Engineering, has resolved that if prophets do not have honors in their homes in other clans, in the engineering family, our prophets will not just be honored, but will also be celebrated. Today we all have gathered here in honor of a man who made a solemn pledge before all of us, before the whole world, and before God, that he would devote all his energy and all his possession to the service of the people of Nigeria and humanity. A distinguished and eloquent leader who has set the standard for excellence and discipline among his followers in his entire varied career as a leader. One man whose name will continue to be a household name in the homes of many Nigerians. We know his character, we also know his quality. We honor him today as a valiant hero of our time. We honor him today as a Renaissance man. We honor him today as a man larger than the normal. We honor him today as a man more than an invincible leader. We honor him today as a man whose monumental legacies will forever remain evergreen in our memories. Therefore, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the President and Chairman of Council of the Nigerian Society of Engineers, Engineer Otis Oliver Tabubo Anyeji, fellow Nigerian Society of Engineers, fellow Academy of Engineering, I warmly welcome you to this august occasion, the celebration of life and achievements of His Excellency Engineer Chief OLUSEGUN OBASANJO, GCFR, FNSC, FA-ING, at the young age of 80. this auditorium are very distinguished personalities who have distinctively distinguished themselves and have traveled from all the nooks and crannies of this nation to grace this epoch-making and historic event. It is therefore my singular honor and pleasure to recognize the icon of our time, in whose honor we all have gathered here today. May I respectfully recognize the presence of His Excellency, Engineer Chief OLUSEGUN Matthew Okikiora Aremu Obasanjo, Grand Commander of the Order of the Federal Republic, former Head of State and former President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Also in our midst, sitting next to him, is our host for this great event, the President and Chairman of Council of the Nigerian Society of Engineers, Engineer Otis Oliver Tabubo Anyeji, fellow Nigerian Society of Engineers, fellow Academy of Engineering. I think we cannot introduce the President without recognizing the very pillar of his life, the woman who has walked through all the valleys of shadows of success and all the things he has achieved in his life. Dame Nkechi Anyeji, the President of the Spouses Forum of the Nigerian Society of Engineers. You are welcome, ma'am. Let me also recognize our amiable and indefatigable Deputy President of the Nigerian Society of Engineers, that is the President-elect, Engineer Adekunle Olumuyiwa Mokwolu, FNSC. He has also come with his beautiful and amiable wife, Dickness Mokwolu. You are welcome, ma'am. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I think I have to take these distinguished personalities. Please, it's not in any way in form of hierarchy. Let me recognize the presence of His Excellency, Prince Olagunsoye Oyinola, the former governor of Osun State. You are welcome, sir. Also seated in our midst is His Excellency, Engineer Segun Oni, former governor of Ekiti State. Also in our midst is Her Excellency, Right Honorable Olubumi Patricia Ete, former Speaker of the Nigerian House of Representatives. Also we have on that same table Senator Engineer Barnabas Gemade, the Chairman Senate Committee on Housing. FNSC, please. Okay, let me recognize the presence of the Chairman, CEO of Dangote Group, Alhaji Aliko Dangote GCON, who is ably represented by the Executive Director of Dangote Industries Limited, our own Engineer Mansour Ahmed, the former Director General of the Infrastructure Concession Regulatory Commission. You're welcome, sir. We also have in our midst the representative of the Group Managing Director of NNPC. He's represented by Engineer Farouk Said. You are welcome, sir. We also have in our midst the Honorable Minister of Science and Technology, Engineer Ogbonnaya Onu, who is ably represented by the Director General of the Energy Commission of Nigeria, Engineer Professor Eli Jidere Bala, FNSC. Please, can we put our hands together for him? Also, we have in our midst our own very distinguished and respected Engineer Iyola Omishore, FNSC, the former Deputy Governor of Osun State. Let me respectfully recognize the presence of our own Engineer Musa Balarabe Shehu, the immediate past president of the Federation of African Engineering Organization and the only African candidate for the forthcoming World Federation of Engineering Organization election. Let me also recognize the presence of Engineer Senator Rabiu Musa Kwankwanzo, FNSC, who is represented by his former Accountant General, Dr. Danjuma Mahmood. Please, can we put our hands together for him? Dr. Danjuma Mahmood, you're welcome, sir. Also, we have in our midst Engineer Professor Michael Paborode, former Vice Chancellor of OAU and Secretary of the Conference of Vice Chancellors. You're welcome, sir. Let me also recognize the presence of the Executive Vice Chairman of the National Communication Commission, Nigerian Communication Commission, Professor Omar Garba Dambata, who is represented by Engineer Austin Ngulunne. You are welcome. Please, can we put our hands together for him? Let me recognize the presence of the former president of AKEN, Engineer Nuruddin Rafin Dadi. You are welcome, sir. And also let me recognize the members of the executive committee. Let me recognize members of the executive committee of the Nigerian Society of Engineers we have in our midst. The vice presidents, I call them the three vice presidents of the Nigerian Society of Engineers, the three musketeers. We have in our midst Engineer Tasiu Sahad Gedari Wudil, FNSC. Engineer Dr. Edith Ishidi, FNSC. Engineer Joseph Olatunde Akinteye, FNSC. Engineer Halimat Adediron, MNSC. Engineer Prince Honorable Adeniran Ibitoye Kilo Modemo, Chairman of the Media and Publicity, FNSC. Engineer Nkem S.E. Ezioku, MNSC. Engineer Yakubu Ali Garuba, MNSC. Engineer Jide Atandei, FNSC. Engineer Chinyere Nnenna Igwebwe, MNSC. Engineer Professor Femi Adefela, FNSC. And we have, the last but not the least, Engineer Emmanuel Akinwole, FNSC. Also, we have here in our midst the Executive Secretary of the Nigerian Society of Engineers, Engineer Olusola Obadimu, MNSC. Let me respectfully recognize the presence of the Director General and CEO of the National Identity Management Commission, NIMC, Engineer Aliu Abubakar Aziz, who is represented by Dr. Engineer Omaru Ba. You're welcome, sir. I think we are going to continue with the recognition so that we can kickstart this program in earnest, where we are waiting to get signal from the Up table, let me quickly recognize the following. Engineer Nkechi Sigwe, former Vice President, NSC. Engineer Babagana Mohammed, former Vice President, NSC. Engineer Zachary Ayitogo, former Vice President and former ES, NSC. Engineer Mayan Adetiba, former Vice President of NSC. Engineer A.K. Amshi, former Executive Secretary of NSC. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, let me also recognize Ambassador Joe Keshi, OON MNI, former Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and Chief Dr. Femi Otumba Fashawe. Chief Dr. Femi Fajekudomi Otumba Majekudumi and Otumba Fashawe. Please, you are welcome. They came with our host, our guest, Chief OLUSEGUN Obasanjo. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, at this point, let me invite the chairman of the planning committee of this great event, Engineer Akin Adeoye, for his opening remarks. Please, can we put our hands together for him?
The President, Engineer OLUSEGUN, guests of honor, past presidents of the Nigerian Society of Engineers, members of council, governors and past governors here present, honorable ministers, members of the House of Assembly, members of the press, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. President, sir, it's indeed an honor and great privilege for me to be here to give the opening remarks of this great occasion. The word engineering goes far beyond studying to become an engineer. And as the engineering profession offers very wide opportunities for service to improve lives of people, for national development, and for nation building. You will all agree with me, those of us who are engineers, that it is not easy to be an engineer. It is also not easy to be a head of state. And it is also not easy to reach the age of 80. It is no secret that our guest of honor, by our culture, we cannot call him by name. That's why I even hesitated initially. I didn't know what to say. But Baba, we always refer to him as Baba. So anytime we hear Baba, it's Baba Obasanjo. And it is not expected that somebody like me will be mentioning names that were given to somebody 8 years ago when I was not there. So it's no secret that our Baba, by the special grace of God, has achieved all these three, and he has even achieved a lot more. Our guest of honor has contributed his quota as a practicing engineer, both when he was in the military, when he's out, even on his farms, you can see a lot of engineering features. And his thinking, you will know that is a sound engineer by all means. And he has contributed notably and very significantly in the engineering, of several sectors of our nation and even several other nations worldwide. And it has helped our country in its strive to achieve greatness. One of the guiding philosophy or principle of Baba is preserving the past, capturing the present, and inspiring the future. This event should actually be seen in the light of that ideology, whereby we want to highlight some of the past and present activities of our engineering icon, with a view to inspiring engineers in all walks of life, at home and abroad, to strive towards excellence in the practice of engineering profession. One, to also leave noteworthy and indelible legacies in the service of improving the lives of people. We therefore hope that this opportunity of honoring our own, I say our own because we are proud to identify with him as an engineer, and we don't want this to be lost. We want the whole nation to know that the Nigerian engineers have among us a great leader, a great engineer. So while we are honoring him, we want us to learn from his achievements, his dedication to service, and this is with a view to encouraging engineers to always aim for very high levels of achievement in the service of the nation and mankind. Baba sir, we will continue to cherish your achievements and to cherish you as an engineering icon. We hope this event will help to bring up those qualities that people will, when going away, will have one or two things to learn. Thank you.
We can actually do better than that. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, quickly, before we go to the next item in our program, because we are behind schedule, let me quickly recognize the presence of Her Excellency, Mrs. Pauline Tallen, the former Deputy Governor of Plateau State. You're welcome, ma. Let me recognize the presence of the Chairman of the Board of Fellows of the Nigerian Society of Engineers, Engineer Sir Chris Okoye, FNSC. And also let me specially recognize all our branch chairmen who are here present. Please, can we put our hands together? Please, can all our branch chairmen stand up for recognition, please? All the chairmen of the branches. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. That's great. That's great. You are all welcome. In the same light, let's put our hands together for all our national chairmen of divisions. Can we put our hands together for them, please? You are welcome. Also, I want to respectfully recognize all our fellows in the house, all the fellows of the Nigerian Society of Engineers who are here present. Please, can we put our hands together for them? All the members of the College of Fellows of the Nigerian Society of Engineers. Wow, I think we have many fellows in the house than members. And now all our members, please. We cannot recognize our fellows without recognizing our members. Let's put our hands together for them. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we have in our midst the Vice Chancellor of Edo University, Engineer Professor E.O. Hallelujah. Please, can we put our hands together for him? And the former chairman of FEMA, Engineer Jide Adeniji, FNSC. I just want to make an announcement before we go to the next item. This program is being streamed live, so you can log on to watch this program live. You can also tell your friends and colleagues at home who are not opportune to be here to view this program live. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, since he took over the mantle of leadership as the president of the Nigerian Society of Engineers, the society has witnessed a great transformation under his leadership. He has initiated reforms that are not just unique or great breakthroughs, but are recorded as contemporary and great successes in the annals of modern leadership. He has championed the cause in addressing the missing link in Nigeria's development by ensuring that Nigerian engineers are not just recognized by the government, but are given the opportunity to occupy the Nigerian policy space. This alone will stand him in good stead as far as what is called the verdict of history is concerned. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it's my singular honor and privilege to bring to the podium the President and Chairman of Council of the Nigerian Society of Engineers, our own very indefatigable Engineer Otis Oliver Tabubo Anyeji, fellow Nigerian Society of Engineers, fellow Academy of Engineering, for his welcome address. Please, we can do better than that for Mr. President.
The Deputy President and President-elect of the Great and Honorable the Nigerian Society of Engineers, our celebrant laureate, Engineer Chief OLUSEGUN OBASANJO, GCFR, FNSC, FAN, past governors here present, and deputy governors here present, past ministers here present, and ministers here present, senators, distinguished senators, honorable members of the House, former permanent secretaries, chief executives of various parastatals and establishments, our chairmen of institutions, chairmen of our branches, our beautiful spouses, friends of engineers, friends of the celebrant, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I am highly delighted to welcome you all to this special event to mark the 80th birthday anniversary and celebrate the achievements of our icon, Engineer Chief OLUSEGUN OBASANJO, FNSC, FAN, GCFR. Former President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. I take it again. 3 times President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. I equally welcome our legislators, distinguished senators, and honorable members here present, and my warm welcome to the honorable ministers in the House, serving and retired, Other members of the Federal and State Executive Council in attendance are also welcome. My dear past President, Council and Executive Committee members of the NSC, fellows and members of the society, and all distinguished engineers here present and their friends, indeed welcome. I say it again, our beautiful spouses, especially my amiable wife, and other friends of engineers, we say welcome and thank you for honoring our invitation. I wish to inform our friends and other stakeholders gathered here that Chief Obasanjo is an outstanding fellow of the Nigerian Society of Engineers, a perfect gentleman officer, revered elder statesman, and a worthy ambassador of our great society and our profession. I believe that it will interest everyone in this country and beyond the shores of our land to know that Chief Obasanjo is the first and so far the only engineer to be privileged to serve our country as the President or Head of State and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And this, as I earlier said, was at 3 different periods: 1976 to 79, 1999 to 2003, and 2003 to 2007. This means that in the 20th century, an engineer was head of state or president in Nigeria twice, 1976 to 79 and 1999 to 2000. And in the 21st century, the same engineer has served in the same capacity again twice, from 2001 to 2003 and 2003 to 2007. Thank you. Also in the 20th century, Herbert Macaulay, the first professional engineer in Nigeria, emerged as the founding father of nationalism, owing to a disenchantment with colonial rule and his strong advocacy for self-rule. To put this in proper perspective, George Washington, an engineer surveyor, was the founding father of nationalism in the United States. During the 20th century, in the US, engineers were president and commander-in-chief also twice, but these were 2 different people. Herbert Hoover, 1929 to 1933, and Jimmy Carter, Chief Obasanjo's friend, 1976 to 1980. But that's where the comparison stops, because in the 21st century, an engineer has not been president in the US yet. It is also very gladdening to note that this engineer and past head of state, who successfully initiated and pioneered the establishment of an engineering and technology university, BELS, also established a state-of-the-art presidential library, the first in the continent of Africa. Whilst it will be pretty difficult to bring to the fore all of the achievements of this world-acclaimed achiever, I wish to mention that President Obasanjo initiated the National Integrated Power Project, NIPP, in 2005, and directed by policy that Nigerian engineering firms must get at least 25% of each project scope. That was how, out of about 120 engineering firms that participated in NIPP, 83 of them were Nigerian firms. This is Nigerian content by example. Under his administration as head of state and commander-in-chief of the armed forces, he completed the building of Warri Refinery and commenced the building of Kaduna refineries, steel plants, petrochemicals phase 1, nitrogenous fertilizer. Do I need to continue? That is why it is said that the greater part of the national stock of industrial and infrastructural assets were initiated and developed by this astute engineer. Talk of a square peg in a square hole. Thank you. On this occasion, I can easily remember all the efforts he made while engaging in discussions with us towards the actualization of the Nigerian Society of Engineers building of a secretariat complex in the heart of the Federal Capital Territory. And Engineer Distinguished Senator Iyola Omishore, FNSC, tirelessly led our members to take advantage of the opportunity of unfettered access to the CEC's exalted office to freely discuss areas that his vital support was required. I'm glad to inform all of you that the said building which Chief Obasanjo eventually performed the official commissioning of is central to our optimal performance, being our head to situation office where we execute our daily operations and receive dignitaries and our international and local visitors. In fact, this morning, they had to insist that we go there first before coming here. And we were there, and there was a lot of jubilation. And all staff also insisted in their turn that they must take a picture with him. And that was done. I'm sure such picture will remain indelible in the minds of all those young people who got this opportunity this morning. Sir, on behalf of Council and the entire membership of NSC, I hereby wish you continual good health, wisdom, courage, and the necessary steadfastness to continue to be of service to humanity for a long time to come. Please accept our congratulations. Finally, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I say welcome to all of you and pray that we will have an exciting and fulfilling celebration. God bless President Olusegun Matthew Okikiola Aremu Obasanjo, fellow Nigerian Society of Engineers, fellow Academy of Engineering, fellow Nigerian Institution of Civil Engineers, fellow Nigerian Institution of Highway Engineers, and so on, fellow Nigerian Institution of Safety Engineers. God bless everyone here, and God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Thank you.
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, please can we put our hands together for Mr. President? Engineer Otis Anyeji is a man of multiple credentials, and that is why I call him a theodolite, because he has traversed through the terrains of the engineering profession, both vertically and horizontally without any angular deflection. Can we put our hands together for him once again? Quickly, before we pause for some commercial, let me recognize the presence of Dr. Mohamed Kiari, the Acting Executive Director of African Union. Please, can we put our hands together for him, please? Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it was one of the Nigerian brightest musicians, Shino Peter, that said that dance, dance, and dance, and forget your sorrows. We cannot have this occasion without doing something that will make us to forget our sorrows and forget recession. Therefore, it is my singular honor to invite a dance group on the FCT called Art and Culture to give us a brief music interlude before we continue with the program. Please, let's put our hands together for them, please. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, please can we put our hands together for these wonderful people? Quickly, let me quickly recognize the presence of Engineer Ife Oluwa Oyedele, the Executive Director Engineering and Technical Services of NDPHC. Please can we put our hands together for? And also we have in our midst our own very distinguished engineer representing us at the World Federation of Engineering Organization. That is the Vice President of WFEO and past Vice President of the Nigerian Society of Engineers, Engineer B.I. Abweraba, FNSC. You're welcome, ma. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, when Mr. President was speaking, he enumerated the numerous achievements of Engineer Chief OLUSEGUN Obasanjo. And as part of our program, there are very distinguished engineers here who are going to take us through the topographies of the achievements of this great man we are honoring today in the different sectors of our economy. It is my singular honor to invite the first speaker, who is going to be speaking to us for just 2 minutes. He will be speaking on engineering education, the achievements of Engineer Obasanjo on engineering education. May I invite Professor Michael Faborode to give us that brief history of the achievements of Engineer Obasanjo in the engineering education. Please, can we put our hands together for him as he comes to the podium?
President, our guest of honor. Before Professor Habarode speaks, I need to say 1 or 2 things about why we have brought him to be here. Professor Faborode is an engineer. Actually, he's a fellow of the Nigerian Society of Engineers. He's a fellow of the Academy of Engineering. I think you will clap for him. And more importantly, on this subject, he is the Executive Secretary of the Committee of Vice Chancellors of Nigerian Universities.
Thank you very much. Mr. President, Society of Engineers, Your Excellency, the highly distinguished guest of honor for this occasion and the honoree of today, I'd like to stand on already established protocols. I was hoping I was going to wait for my turn, but I've been dragged forward. To talk about Chief Obasanjo's contribution to education, it can take the whole day because I don't even know where to start from. But I'd like to start with just a very brief story. In 1976, I went on practical, and because of that, I was able to get myself a decent car. And as I was going from one faculty to another, I saw an elderly professor, the head of department, coming towards the car park to take his car. From the way the car was placed and seeing him coming, I could sense that that car is not in good condition and will need some help. So as he approached, I had waited a car to go and help him, but he had mastered the act of helping himself. The car was parked in the slope. One leg in, pim, and he was gone. I almost cried. That was the plight of the Nigerian academic, the plight of the lecturers at that time. The person who changed that situation was President OLUSEGUN OBASANJO. Because shortly before then, the academic staff of Nigerian universities went on a prolonged strike, and it resulted in the agreement that changed the situation of Nigerian universities for better till today. And so today, Nigerian academics are not the worst paid in Africa, because for every worker, job satisfaction is very important. And so, there is no way that you can write the history of Nigerian education and Nigerian university system that you will not remember the tremendous contributions that President Obasanjo has made in the field of education. Not just engineering education, but being an engineer, we wanted to narrow this down to engineering education, but I think he has contributed to all the areas of education, education for the young ones, in the secondary school, and so on. Today we have private universities, thanks to the initiative and the foresight of President OLUSEGUN OBASANJO. The first set of private universities started in 1999. That's the first year of his second coming. Today we have 68 private universities in Nigeria, giving us a total of 152, 153 universities. So there are more private universities, and we are beginning to see signs that just like in other lands, private universities are going to determine the future direction of Nigerian higher education system. You can see what has happened in the secondary school system and also in the primary school system. To establish his own personal conviction in this function of private universities, to establish best University of Science and Technology of TAN. And I can say that BELS is one of the leading universities in the area of education, technological education in Nigeria today. So, no matter from which direction you look at it, you cannot remove the concrete contribution that President OLUSEGUN OBASANJO has made to education. He also made sure that the National Open University of Nigeria becomes a reality. And he also underlined his commitment to that by becoming a distinguished alumnus of the Nigerian Open University. And if I can be very certain, I think he's soon going to earn his PhD from the Nigerian Open University. If I must say something personally, then I would never have been a vice chancellor in this country if not because of President Obasanjo's commitment to merit and excellence. If you look back critically, you will see that most of the vice chancellors appointed during his tenure, he marked based on merit, and he upheld merit. In those days, the governing councils will send 3 names to the president to make a choice. Any of the 3 could be chosen. Any of the 3. But President Obasanjo maintains that whoever comes as number 1, unless there is something very critical that has been brought up, that person will be selected as the vice chancellor. And that means a lot for the university system. And I want to say this for great emphasis, that in the choice of leadership of university system, merit should be maintained. It makes a lot of difference when you put the right person to lead a university, also the position of the registrar of a university. So, when some mistakes are made somewhere and we speak very loud against it, that we must not sacrifice merit or the author of any exigency in the choice of vice chancellors or head of any other institutions. I don't want to take too much time, but I think the omens are there for all to see. The history of education in Nigeria cannot be written. The stories cannot be told without the great achievements, the great contributions that our distinguished honoree has made in that field. And so, I want to join all our colleague engineers, head of institutions who are here, vice chancellors who have been able to make it. I can see the vice chancellor of Edo State University, also an engineer. At least today, I think there are about 6 or 8 vice chancellors who are engineers. We join our hands together in applauding this very important step by the Society of Engineers to honor one of our own, to claim that no matter from which direction you look at President Obasanjo, he is first and foremost an engineer, a distinguished engineer for that matter, a fellow of the Nigerian Society of Engineers, a fellow of the Nigerian Academy of Engineering. That is the highest position that somebody can attain in engineering. Congratulations, sir. Our Baba, congratulations. And may you live long to see your service to this country. Congratulations again. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Please, we should try as much as we can to make it very brief. The next speaker will be speaking on the achievements of Engineer Chief OLUSEGUN OBASANJO in the areas of industries and private sector development. And there cannot be any other person who can speak better in that area than the chairman himself and CEO of the Dangote Group, who is ably represented by the Executive Director, Dangote Industries Limited, our own engineer, Mansour Ahmed. Please, can we put our hands together for him?
The President of the Society, our eminent and distinguished celebrant, Baba, Chief Engineer OLUSEGUN OBASANJO, let me stand on existing protocols. First of all, let me deliver a message from my boss and my Chief Executive, Alhaji Aliko Dangote, who had to travel out of the country last night and had asked me, therefore, to convey his apologies for not being here today. Indeed, he said this is one event that he would have definitely loved to be here, because the story of the Dangote Group cannot be written without the name and support and significance of the celebrant written in the first line of that story. When sometimes in 1999, when Baba came back to government as president, he spent a lot of time traveling widely abroad. Many ignorant observers thought he was just gangster. But indeed, Baba was then going about reopening the path, creating a new direction for Nigerians to follow. And indeed, for us in the private sector, that initial effort to open up the world for Nigeria and for Nigerians was the beginning of the opportunities that emerged for Nigerian private sector. And following these troubles, Papa came back and sustained the privatization policy, which indeed marked the beginning of the creation of opportunities for private enterprise to lead the development of Nigerian industrialization. And as we all know, indeed, the private sector everywhere has always been the engine of economic and industrialization growth. That gave us an opportunity in the Dangote Group to move from perhaps the largest importer of cement to begin actual production. And the privatization opportunity gave us process gave us an opportunity to acquire our first small cement mill. I see distinguished Senator Gemade is here. I believe if not for that privatization policy, if not for our intervention in Benue Cement, perhaps the distinguished senator will still be producing cement. But thank God, he is now a senator doing something perhaps a lot more important for the nation. And I believe that it is that policy and subsequent drive by Papa of the backward integration program in the private industry, in the industrial sector, that indeed moved and motivated the Dangote Group and indeed many private operators to pursue industrialization in earnest. And the consequence is that we moved from an initial cement production of about 1.2 or 1.5 million tons per annum that Benue was producing, to today, in order to cut the story short, producing 29 million tons of cement per annum in our own plant in Nigeria. And that is the first transformation of Nigerian industrialization, because today Nigeria is a net exporter of cement compared to the time of Papa's return, when indeed we depended almost 90% on cement importation for our construction services. And I believe that the sustenance of that policy, and particularly the support and commitment of Papa to us in Dangote and to many industrialists in Nigeria, has indeed created the beginning of the change that I believe for the past 30 years have been trying to achieve, to move our country into an industrialized country as we should. Sometime in 2006 or 2007, Papa also wanted to bring the same policy in the downstream sector of the oil and gas industry. He gave us an opportunity then for Dangote to acquire one of the refineries, and we did. Unfortunately, soon after his exit, the policy was reversed, and we were compelled or persuaded to hand back the refinery to government. That has stopped the process of development in that sector now for almost 10 years. I believe if that policy has been sustained, today, the issues we are confronted with in the downstream sector of the economy would have been a thing of the past, part of the history of Papa's role in this economy and in this country. Let me therefore say very briefly that your footsteps, Papa, have carved a niche in the industrialization history of Nigeria. The Dangote industry itself is indeed perhaps the first beneficiary of those policies we pursued. Let me say on behalf of Aliko, Papa, that that policy you established has given us strength and motivation. And even though it had not succeeded when you were there in the downstream sector, let me assure you, sir, that the Dangote industry, particularly the Dangote refinery, will indeed achieve your dream of a sound private sector-led petroleum, downstream petroleum sector in Nigeria within the next 2 to 3 years. Let me therefore, on behalf of Elijah Lipo and indeed the entire Dangote group and the entire private sector here, join all our friends and colleagues here to wish you a very happy birthday and to pray that the good Lord in his infinite mercy will continue to give you the strength and courage to continue to play the fatherly role you have played to this country and to our industry. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. The next person to speak will be speaking on agro-business industry sector. Please can we put our hands together as I invite to the podium Mr. Wahid Olagunju. Mr. Wahid Olagunju. Please can we put our hands together for him? Mr. Wahid Olagunju is not here. He's coming. Okay. Let me quickly invite, if he's present, the next speaker will be speaking on the power sector, the achievements of our celebrant, the power sector, Engineer C.N.O. Machuku. If he's here, please can we put our hands together for him. Okay. Now let me quickly invite our own very distinguished Engineer Barnabas Gimade, FNSC, the Chairman, Senate Committee on Housing, will be speaking. We will be speaking on engineers in politics. Please, can we put our hands together for him?
Your Excellency, our revered guest of honor, former President OLUSEGUN OBASANJO, GCFR, fellow Nigerian Society of Engineers, and fellow Academy of Engineers. My President, Deputy President, all the officers of Nigerian Society of Engineers, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. This is somewhat of a coup, because when I saw the program, I didn't see anything in it in which the exploits of our guest of honor in politics would be spoken here. And I was saying, is it because the Nigerian Society of Engineers is afraid of politicians, what they might say about this great man? Because indeed, he is a very controversial personality. And in politics, there must be controversies. And a lot of people who are not politicians are always afraid of those controversies. Most times they think that the world is going to come to an end when politicians begin to do their business. But let me quickly state here that controversies are necessary ingredients of politicking, and indeed, it all gears up to perfection, because these things must happen in order that we will attain perfection. And indeed, there was a lot of things to worry about by the thinking of our president and those who organized this occasion. What can we say about our guest of honor today in politics? Very controversial events, which they're probably afraid that we may talk about here. Like a president who a nation, and in 8 years had to have 5 chairmen of his political party officiate at the National Secretariat of that party. A president who during his 8-year tenure would have 5 presidents of the Senate running the National Assembly. A president who, in one breath, would assign responsibility to his vice president to a point where everybody was squeaking and crying. How can he give him that much power? And at the same time, the same president will tamper with the powers given to his vice president to a point that he had 0 responsibility. What can you say about this sort of controversy about this gentleman? One point that is very clear for people like me who are involved, let me state here clearly that Chief OLUSEGUN Obasanjo is a man that people love greatly. They either love him very deeply or love to hate him very deeply. Nothing you can do with this gentleman that you do in half measures. And one fact is, what people do not understand is that in the midst of all these controversies, the focus of the gentleman is purely to attain one thing, and that is perfection in what he does. If you get to work with this president, even at this esteemed age of 80, you will find that you will have to be running behind him all the time. The young people who are peers and assistants today will testify to the fact that they have to work doubly in order to catch up with the speed. And sometimes I'm sorry for the gentlemen who are his close friends who are moving with him. Femi and our Pasha, they are also very aged. And I believe that in spite of the fact that they are younger than him, they will have to run after him. The only thing I can then quickly say is that embodied in this gentleman, that those of us who love very deeply. We do know that whatever he has set his hands to do in politics has always been to make this country better than it was. And that is why all the reforms that you can hear about in this nation are centered around his administration. Be it local government reforms, economic reforms, agricultural reforms, or whatever sort of reform that you can talk about is centered around the work of President OLUSEGUN Obasanjo. So let me conclude this short testimony by saying that all of us who have experienced working with Chief OLUSEGUN Obasanjo love it dearly, and we hold no grudges whatsoever against him. In the course of looking for perfection, the only thing that he has forgotten is that when he has tried 1, 2, 3, and 4, and found out that the last one was better, he didn't remember to go back to that person. So, in conclusion, in whatever he's doing going forward, let him remember that the stone that you reject today may be the cornerstone of tomorrow. Thank you.
I think we can do better than that. That was wonderful and brilliant. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the next brief remarks we will take, I think that will be the last before we pause for some interlude. Will be taken by Dr. Mohamed Diari, who is the Executive Director, African Union. Please, can we put our hands together for him? He'll be speaking to us for just 2 minutes, please. We'll do as much as we can to leave here latest 1:30. Please, 2 minutes.
I stand on the existing protocol since it is 2 minutes. And I believe I won't stay long because I'm a scientist. And at the same time, it is extremely very difficult to say a word or two after a veteran politician have said a lot. I just wanted to say 1 or 2 things about His Excellency, former President Olusegun Obasanjo. President Olusegun Obasanjo is a leader. And when we say a leader, it's a visionary person who sees beyond 50 years. And his transformation traversed across the continent, not only Nigeria. I see no reason why the Nigerian Society of Engineering is limiting his achievements to this country, Nigeria. Because if you look at the African Union, the contribution of Chief Olusegun Obasanjo is magnanimous. The transformation, the distinguished senator mentioned, the transformation of the OAU to the AU was done with his support. And I can tell you, former president instituted what is called the Science and Technology Fund, which he donated about $5 million into it. The Science and Technology Fund for the Africa is geared towards transforming the continent to a knowledge-based economy, not a resource-based economy. If you look at it based on that, the African Union space policy was developed. Chief Olusegun Obasanjo saw it from far that you cannot be strong without conquering your space. And he established the Obasanjo Space Center in Nigeria. If you look at those developments, science and technology, start mentioning some of the achievements that he did in the science sector as well as the engineering sector, it can go throughout the day. But what I wanted to say, he's older than my father. I am very young and extremely delighted to know him, interact with him, and enjoy from the vast wealth of his experience. It is a rare opportunity, Your Excellency. And without talking much because of the time that I've been given, and we scientists, we respect time. Your Excellency, we are very grateful. The continent is grateful. The nation is grateful. And I and my family, we are all grateful. Thank you.
Thank you very much for sticking to time. Let's put our hands together for him again. I hope the next, I've been informed that Dr. Wahid Olagunju is around. Please, can we put our hands together as I invite him, please? He will speak to us. I think he will now follow the same sequence by speaking to us for 2 minutes only. He's a gentleman, and I am very convinced he will speak for 2 minutes. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much. A lot has been said. Congratulations, Baba. We are your children. What I remember mainly is Operation Feed the Nation, 41 years ago. And after Operation Feed the Nation, Green Revolution, every government has found it necessary to build on your foundation. We have the green alternative today. Prior to that, we had the agri-transformation agenda. And that was enunciated by one of your children too, Dr. Akim Adesina. Because one of the values of a leader is not ability to do everything on your own, but how you're able to communicate your vision to people around you and even beyond. Like the last speaker said, Baba is God's gift to Nigeria, not only to Nigeria, but also Africa and beyond. And what Akim Adesina is doing in ADB today, he received a lot of inspiration and motivation from Baba. There is also Dr. Kande Yumkela, the immediate past Director General of United Nations Industrial Development Organization. He wouldn't have become DG of UNIDO without Baba supporting him. And he keeps telling us everywhere today. He's also trying to become the president of Sierra Leone. And I know he's been coming to Baba for consultation. And at the last annual meeting of the African Development Bank, the theme was transforming agriculture for wealth creation in Africa. So Akim Adesina has turned ADB into a powerful machinery for driving Africa's agricultural agenda. We are trying to achieve self-sufficiency by 2025. We currently spend about $35 billion every year importing food in Africa. And ADB is saying that this should stop the next 7 years. We have to give a lot of credit to him because what people are saying today around the world is the vision he had 41 years ago. And that vision is still alive. So we should continue with that vision because food security is the most important in terms of basic human needs. Food, food, and food. Not only will it reduce and eliminate hunger, job creation. In terms of developmental impact and multiplier effects per unit of investment, it's in the agricultural sector that has the highest. If you invest 1 billion naira in agriculture, you create more impact than if you spend 1 billion naira in other sectors. Apart from providing food, creating jobs, primary production, secondary, value addition, packaging, and everybody, a lot of jobs will be created. So in terms of agriculture, primary production, and agribusiness, we owe a lot to you, sir. And those of us you'll be leaving behind after you must have clocked 100, I can assure you that we'll continue to propagate your vision and advocate your vision in Nigeria, in Africa, and beyond. Congratulations, sir.
I think we have said much about this legendary personality. I told you that Shima Peter said that if you dance, you forget your sorrows. And another person said, if you laugh, you prolong your days. Therefore, we are going to pause for some commercial, for some interlude, for us to laugh, so that we can also prolong our days and live even much longer than the man we are celebrating today. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it is my singular honor to invite on stage a renowned comedian, Aboki for Christ. Let's put our hands together for him. All the way from the Garden City, Port Harcourt. We don't want to clap for him. Don't worry, we are going to, I will not beg you to clap, but you'll be forced to clap for him. Thank you very much, Aboki for Christ.
Thank you, Mr. MC. Your Excellency is the President of the Nigerian Society of Engineers, and I want to say a very big congratulations to our celebrant, Chief OLUSEGUN Matthew Okikiola Aremu Obasanjo. This is actually the second time, apart from on television, where I will have opportunity to see you very, very closely. The first time was in the year 2003 in the village where you grew up, sir. Ibogo Ola Ogun. I came there to do a presentation under the umbrella of the Obasanjo Solidarity Forum. When I went home to my people and told them I met you, they did not believe. Again, I am opportune to see you here today very closely. If I go tell them, they will not believe. Sir, so that they will believe, I am going to come down from this stage to where you are. Oh my word! Oh God! Oh! Wait! This is beautiful! Oh! Photographers, enough! Enough, me and my father! Thank you, sir! I deeply appreciate. Wow, this is so beautiful. I have never seen a father like this. Actually, when I was coming, my father, my biological father told me that when I come to Abuja today, I'm going to meet my real father. Daddy mi sọ fún mi pé ọmọ àlè ni mí. Bàbá mi gangan rèé o. I am so privileged. I speak Hausa very well. I speak Yoruba very well. And I speak Igbo language very, very well. Checheche Igbo kwenu. Kwezono. Ana m anabata unu. Ebe anyị na-eme mmemme 80th celebration nna m. Ọkwụrụ ma nọ nna m dị ihe. When I was growing up, my father told me, I don't know why, those days, there are only 3 professions in Nigeria. When you are going to school, is either you become a lawyer, or a doctor, or an engineer. Any other thing is not profession. So my father actually told me that he wants me to become engineer. So today, I have become a comediological engineer. Engineer, not be engineer. I was a teacher one day, and some years back I was a teacher, and I was asking the student in my class, what is your father's occupation? This one will say, my father is a civil engineer. The other one say, my father is a mechanical engineer. Another one that I know very well, his father is just a radio repairer. He said his own father is also electrical engineer. It now came to the tongue of one of my friends. Oh, but what is your father's occupation? The other one, civil engineer. The other one, mechanical. The other one, electrical. His father was actually working in a mortuary. So since everybody is adding engineer to his father's occupation, he too say, my father is a symmetrical engineer. My father works in the cemetery. You know, the fact that today I can stand before people and speak in English is a testimony. You may not understand that I, Aboki, can stand before you and speak in English and you laugh is a testimony. I actually grew up in the northern part of Nigeria, even though I am from Abeokuta. Oh my God, in me. I actually grew up in the northern part of Nigeria. That was where I attended my primary and secondary school. And the school that I attended, everything they were teaching us, they teach us in Hausa, including English language. You can imagine when your teacher is teaching you English language in Hausa, you are finished. For example, if my teacher is teaching and she says, this is a ball, she's expecting us to repeat after her, and I so good a look. Until she says, one we say, yawa! Yawa, madam. I'm telling you, it was so bad. We speak Hausa both in and outside the class until one day, Commissioner for Education now visited my school. As soon as the man entered my class, we stood up and disgraced the school. We greeted the man in Hausa language. Commissioner. This man was so angry. He now faced our teacher. What kind of children are you people raising for me in this school? Now, as from today, there must be no more vernacular speaking in this school. Any child that speaks in vernacular gets 24 strokes of cane. Yeah? People like us that could not speak in English, we became deaf and dumb in the class. If you want to borrow pencil from your friend, you talk like that and that was the mode of communication. Until one day, my teacher was teaching. I was pressed. I needed to go and use myself. But how will I tell my teacher that I want to go and use myself? Oh, English hard, oh. The woman turned to write something on the board. As she turned, I stood up. I wanted to sneak out. The woman turned. She said, yes, Aboki, what's your problem? I said, madam, problem, I sat down. After a while, the thing hold me. I stood up. Madam said, Aboki, stop disturbing my class. What's the problem? I said, madam, water, body, to The woman said, Aboki, do you mean you cannot tell me what you want to do in a simple English? But sit down there. I sat down. After a while, her phone rang. She picked the phone, went outside the class to receive the call. As she went out through this door, I said, let me use the other door, go and ease myself. As I was running out, I stepped on this Ajabo girl leg. Those Ajabo children, I don't know who to teach them English. This girl, as I stepped on her leg, she slapped me. This slap entered me. But remember, you must not speak in vernacular. I said, Vero. The girl was like, where were you even going to? Because mother was still in the class. You were running around. You stepped on my toes. I slapped you. I said, As I was sitting there, madam came back. When the woman entered, she said, what's happening here? Why are the two of you standing? The girl started. Madam, I don't know where he was even going to. Because he went out of the class. He was running around. He stepped on my toes. I slapped him. Madam asked me, Aboki, what happened? Now there was last time. I said, madam, madam, so what is will you tell me what happened? I said, madam, oh. She said, Aboki, if you cannot tell me what happened between the two of you, then come go sit down now. I said, madam, it's me, oh. It's me, it's sit down. It's me, it's 1, 2, 3. Madam said, what's the meaning of that? I said, madam, it's me, it's stand. It's me, it's walk. It's me, not say it's me, it's match. It's very why, madam, why? The woman said, Aboki, you are a disgrace. Doesn't mean you cannot tell me what happened between the two of you in a simple English. In fact, Aboki, I want you to make a sentence with the word yam. I say, yam. Okay, madam, I chop yam. You must say, my friend, make it a longer sentence. Make a longer sentence. I say, longer sentence. Okay, madam, I chop yam. Oh. Thank you very much. That was my time. God bless you.
I think we can do better than that. In fact, because of this wonderful performance, I've been compelled to bring him back on stage for 2 minutes in the next interlude we have. So, Aboki for Christ, please don't go. You can still catch up with your flight to Port Harcourt. Thank you very much. Let's appreciate you once again, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. We are gradually winding up the program. Let me quickly, we cannot, talk about the achievements of Engineer Chief OLUSEGUN OBASANJO without having somebody from his own constituency, his own primary constituency, telling us about his achievement. Mr. President, when he was speaking, told us that the Obasanjo Presidential Library is the first in Africa. So it's my singular honor to invite the Deputy Chief Coordinator of OLUSEGUN Obasanjo Presidential Library to give us just a brief remark, 2 minutes, on the achievements of this statesman in that area. Please, let's put our hands together for him, please.
I am one of Baba's boys. And when Senator Gamadi says that he pities some of the people that work with Obasanjo, I'm a model. You should look at me very well. I am proud to be associated with him. I like to think of myself as an engineer, at least for today. Having said that, time will not permit me, but I will try quickly to let you know what the Presidential Library is all about. And so the story of Obasanjo goes. An individual rising through what we'll call the rustic robbings of a poor background, where the circumstances of his death gave him little or no chance in life. Engineered by the conspiracy of destiny and fate, it is the story of President Olusegun Obasanjo, known as the Ebora Owu. But because time will not permit, you will all have to come to the Presidential Library in Abeokuta to see things for yourself. Indeed, if you do not come, there is nothing more to add or to say. Let me start by saying a little bit about what the Presidential Library is about. Our Presidential Library, which, if you look at the screen there, that in fact is the main building, is the first of its kind outside the United States, where there is a culture of presidential libraries. The building itself is a parody of his life, rising from a glorious, majestic building from the rubble, dirt, and hard rocks of its location. Its wings are like open arms, ready to embrace. And this is what Obasanjo stands, to embrace all and everyone. OOPL, as we like to call it, was first conceived as an idea in 1988 by President Obasanjo. The library became a reality this year, a full reality this year, after it was commissioned by about 5 or so head of states, sitting head of states, and more than 15 other former presidents and prime ministers who came to support the opening of that library. In this library are 2 museums that exhibit the artifacts that help us to be able to tell his story. I don't know if this thing is working. The materials you will find in this library try to tell the story. And not just the story, but the story of Nigeria as well. It's going to be very difficult for you to tell the story of Nigeria, or indeed the story of Africa, without not mentioning the contribution of Baba, as we like to call him. The uniqueness of this library stems from its size and its components within its environment. Located on the 32 hectares of land, OPL exists as a full community. The complex is designed to be a continuous learning space for sites, seers, visitors, students, tourists, and scholars from all over the world. Among these are what we call the UNESCO, the first ever cultural UNESCO Institute, Category 2 Institute, called the Institute for African Culture and International Understanding. Other places of interest also include the archives, housing millions and millions of documents on the life, times, career, interest, and achievement of President Obasanjo. We also have the Arava Pavilion, where we try to tell the story of not just the Nigerian Civil War, as it were, but also some of the many features that signpost what we call nation building as it stands today. Other facilities include, of course, the place for children to come and learn, a youth center, an amusement center, and a wildlife park where we are making a contribution in the conservation of wildlife. We have also been fortunate to have one or two archaeological sites on site. We also have the Rock of Inspiration, the Nigerian African fabrics. For those of you who love to use African natural fabrics a lot. There's a senior citizen center for seniors, which, of course, has a raging debate around it as to whether membership of the senior citizens should be based on age or something else. Baba has always argued that if you are not 60, you cannot, if you're not up to, or if membership of that place starts only when you are from 60 and above. And some people who have been arguing with him say they disagree with him on account of their experiences and their age. There's a sports center, and then we also have a faith center. We have the Beitul Salam Central Mosque, and also the Chapel of Christ, the Glorious King. The most important thing there, however, is the main building itself that comes with a world-class museum. It's our pride to showcase this museum and say it's one of the best anywhere in the world. It's an independent trust fund, a trust foundation that administers the general activities of the museum. When you visit the library, as we like to call it, you will not leave without something. You will have to take something out. It's something that we are well proud of, and something that every Nigerian should be proud of. It took us about 10 years of hard work with Baba carrying a cane literally every day and pursuing all of us to make sure we do what we are supposed to do. Over time, I have been compelled to learn a lot of engineering stuff. I didn't train as an engineer. A memorable thing happened one time when he called from one of his trips abroad and wanted to find out from me what was going on in one of the buildings. And I was trying to explain to him, they are putting wood work somewhere. They want to put, he says, stupid man, it's called form work. He uses that to get back at me every day. Ladies and gentlemen, the Presidential Library is for everyone. It's a place that tells the story of Nigeria. It's a place that tells the story of President Obasanjo. We all know what happened many years ago when we didn't tell our stories. When European historiographers told the story of Africa from their own position, their suggestion that Africa has no history because we didn't have written history, and how they were able to use all of that to be able to subjugate our societies. We must find a way to be able to tell our own stories. Without our stories, we do not exist. You must come to the Presidential Library. You must visit this Presidential Library. It's a tourist center for one and everybody. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much.
That was the German 2 weeks, 2 minutes. Let's put our hands together for him. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I think if we begin to talk about the achievements of Chief Olusegun Obasanjo, I don't think we are going to be living here in 3 days. Therefore, I think we are going to make it as fast as possible because we are supposed to leave here by 1 o'clock. We started late. And I promise you that in the next 30 minutes, please, our Muslim brothers who are going to mosque, I assure you in the next 30 minutes, we will be leaving here. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, one thing that is certain in all these things we have said about this great man today is that history will recede. Generations will come and generations will go. But the enduring legacies of Engineer Chief Olusegun Obasanjo will forever remain evergreen in our memories. Generations still unborn will hear and read of this legendary personality who is both a statesman and a venerable leader, who stood tall enough as a human being of unique qualities. We have in our midst a very distinguished personality who is going to take us through the life and times of this great man. Let me respectfully bring to the podium the former governor of Osun State, His Excellency Prince Olagunsoye Oyinola, to read the citation of Engineer Chief Olusegun Obasanjo, FNSC, FA-Inch. Please, can we put our hands together for him? Oh, yo! Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much. The President, Nigerian Society of Engineers, very distinguished ladies and gentlemen. I want to thank the President for giving me this opportunity, a very rare one indeed, because I found it to be rare. It's an opportunity I've been looking for throughout my year service in the military. I didn't get it. Throughout my service so far as a politician. And so I want to thank Mr. President for giving me the duty of reading the citation of our special guest. And I know in the tradition of reading a citation, it is normal that the honoree must respond to some of my instructions. It is in that light that I want to most respectfully request Engineer General Chief Olusegun Okikiola Aremu Matthew Ifajimi Obasanjo, the upstanding and remain so till I conclude my assignment. President Olusegun Obasanjo. Thank you so much, sir, for keeping to instructions. President Olusegun Obasanjo was born on the 5th day of March, 1937, which was an Ifo market day in Ibogun Olaogun, a farming community in the present-day Ogun State. He attended Baptist Boys High School, Abeokuta, and later joined the Nigerian Army in 1958 as an officer cadet. He had his engineering training in the military. He rose to the head of an entire division during the Nigerian Civil War, and usually referred to as Victorious Victor. He eventually served first as second in command, then later as head of state of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and retired from the army into the life of a farmer and an advocate for Nigeria's improvement. Baba OBJ was imprisoned by the Abacha dictatorship for a period of 3 years, 3 months, and 3 days. That was in the late 1990s. Chief Olusegun Obasanjo, after he previously served as the country's head of state from 76 to 79, served 2 terms as democratically elected President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. From the year 1999 to 2007. Since leaving the presidency, he has made himself available to varied pursuits of all things good and that are geared towards the betterment of humanity. Chief Olusegun Obasanjo lives in Abeokuta and serves as chief promoter of the Olusegun Obasanjo Presidential Library, the first of its kind in Africa. For over 3 decades now, Baba has been involved in development issues across Africa, especially in the areas of leadership development, capacity building, and conflict resolution. President Obasanjo has mediated in a number of conflicts in Africa and other parts of the world, including conflicts in Namibia, Angola, South Africa, Mozambique, Burundi, and indeed all over the world. In 2009, President Olusegun Obasanjo was appointed Special Envoy of the United Nations to the Great Lakes region to mediate on the conflict in the DRC, Democratic Republic of Congo. He recently completed his assigned duty as the chair of the African Union the panel to inquire on the crisis in Southern Sudan. Baba OBJ plays a leadership role in many organizations, including the Interaction Council for former heads of state and government, eminent persons group of the African, Caribbean, and Pacific, and African Progress Panel. He chairs the West African Drug Commission and is the chief promoter of Africa's first presidential library, the OLUSEGUN OBASANJO Presidential Library Foundation. President Obasanjo is also a farmer, an educationist, and has written many books. The latest being on Ijapa. That is tortoise. That is the latest addition to the number of books he has written. He takes very keen interest in his family and is extremely proud of his children, some of whom are also engineers. Mr. President, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Chief General Olusegun Okikiola, engineer, sorry sir. Olusegun Okikiola Aremu Matthew Ifajimi Ogbogbondo Ebora Owu Anlugwa II.
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, while our honoree is still standing, may I invite the President of the Nigerian Society of Engineers, Engineer Otis Oliver Tabubu Anyeji, FNSC, to present a gift to our distinguished guest of honor. Please, can we put our hands together for Mr. President?
Is in honor of our and celebration of our engineering icon, Engineer Chief Olusegun Obasanjo, GCFR, FNSE, FAN at 80. You can see a tapestry of pictures at various stages of the journey so far. And this is presented by the great and honorable the Nigerian Society of Engineers at this special ceremony commemorating the 80th birthday anniversary of Engineer Chief Olusegun Obasanjo, GCFR, FNSC. Thank you, Mr. President. We will also do another presentation of the African sole candidate for the election for President of the World Federation of Engineering Organization, who is Baba's son, Engineer Mustafa Balarabe Shehu, fellow Nigerian Society of Engineers, fellow Solar Energy Society of Nigeria. And I would like Dr. Mohammed Kiari, the Acting Executive Director of the African Union Science and Technology Commission, to also be on hand, because Engineer Shehu is African Union's candidate. So we would like Baba to help in raising the hands of our candidates. Congratulations. And thank you, Baba.
So privileged to be here to organize the cutting of the cake. In fact, when they were talking, one thing that touched me so much was Operation Feed the Nation. Then I was very young, but we were so interested because our parents, everybody was talking about it. And I think it was a laudable something. And now Nigeria has gone back and the whole world has gone back to it. We thank God for your visionary then. And also, looking at the cake, it was well done. I don't know who did it, but the colors of the cake, the green, the Nigerian color, the white for excellence, the gold for greater heights, and the buildings. In fact, when I was looking at the pictures of the library, I just saw everything on the cake. And at the library, I picked two things from two.
Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday. A happy day in your life, oh. Oh, yeah, dance and shake your body, oh. Shake your body, baba, oh. Happy birthday to you. Oh, bless you. May the good Lord bless you. May the good Lord bless you. Very good Lord bless you.
Thank you very much.
Please be seated. I beg of you, please be seated. Please be seated. Please be seated. I know that many of you out there did not, many of you were not able to share with me when I was sharing the cake on the platform. Now, the cake will remain here, and when I finish my short remarks, the cake will be available for everybody who wants to have it. The President, on this occasion, there's only one President. And if anybody wants to dispute that, then he will see the red eyes of all engineers. The President-elect. You know, I will acknowledge all the others, but let me make a remark here. You know, some of the things that I see in other organizations, other institutions, that will be good for our political system are many. One of them is what you do in the Society of Engineers. I think a year, is it, before the expiry date? Is it 2 years before the expiry date of the president? You have a president-elect. Who will be, is regarded more or less as deputy. So he's learning and also is associating with the president. And of course, you dare not wish the president stumble, let alone dead. Well, I wish we can bring that into politics in Nigeria. Fellows of the Nigerian Society of Engineers, and former governor Oyinlola of Osun State, former governor Segun of Ekiti State, and my distinguished former chairman, and now distinguished senator, members of Nigerian Society of Engineers, distinguished guests, distinguished students, there are students among us, and distinguished friends of the society and friends of members of the society. When I came in, unexpectedly I was met by a television crew, and they asked me a question. And in answering the question, I said, look, jokingly, I said there's a difference between engineers, lawyers, and doctors. Is Aboki still here? Aboki? Aboki was right when he said there was a time in Nigeria when the three professions people know about beyond secondary school is you are either a lawyer, a doctor, or an engineer. Anything outside that is not known. Well, we know of teachers, we know of catechists, we know of station masters, we know of postmasters, of course we know of police. And I cracked this joke that of these three professions, you should not make mistakes. But if you make mistakes, if a doctor makes mistake on his patient, it will be one patient and he will be buried. The mistake of the doctor is buried. If a lawyer makes mistake on his client, the client will go to prison. The mistake of the lawyer ends in prison for the client. But my brothers and sisters and colleagues in the profession of engineering, if we make mistakes, which God forbid we do, what happens? It's a disaster, tragedy. If you build a bridge and the bridge collapses, or you build a house and the house collapses, it's not one man who will die or one person. It's not one person who will go to prison. So we have to be extremely, extremely careful, extremely cautious, extremely diligent, and, of course, extremely efficient. Let me, having said that, let me thank you Mr. President, your amiable wife, President-elect, your charming wife, distinguished fellows, and members, let me thank you most sincerely for this honor you have done me. You know, yesterday somebody asked me, what are you going to Abuja for? I said, I'm going to Abuja to be honored. He said, honored, who by? I said, by my professional association. He said, which professional association is that? I said, Society of Engineering of Nigeria. He said, but I never know you are an engineer. I thought you are a political engineer. And really, I believe he was, that's what he thought I was. So when I was not therefore surprised when Senator Imade came up and talked about engineering in politics. But I like the note on which he ended. He was a victim. Rightly, I believe. Governor Inlola with you there was a victim. Rightly, I believe. When I took over as elected president of Nigeria, I got 93 officers of the armed forces out of the military because they were used to what I call the chummy life in the government house. And if I have left them in the military, they will have been the one that will have created more problems for us. And our democratic dispensation would not have lasted as it has lasted till now. Governor Inlola was one of those, 93. But he saw it as in everything that you may see as bad, there may be a silver lining. Because if he hadn't been out by that time, he would never have been governor. I lie? If Senator Imade has not been kicked out as chairman, he would never have become a senator. But I'm happy for one thing he said. I was looking for perfection and for what is best for Nigeria. And there was no bad thing. Till tomorrow, Chief Imade is still a friend. And he will remain a friend. But when it comes to Nigeria, even the best of my friends, Nigeria will come before them. And for that, I have no apologies. And I will never have apologies for that. As he rightly said, I had not 5 chairmen of the party. It was 4. was Chief Solomon La, your good self, Adu Obe, and Amadou Ali. But why should I take one which I say, well, for one reason or the other, not good enough, and I take the next one, I say, for one reason or the other, not good enough. I go to the one that wasn't good enough before. That's what you are applying. If it's not good enough, it's not good enough. And you continue to look until you get what you will find sufficiently good enough. In this country, we are not short of men and women. And of course, if he's not good enough in one particular area, he may be good enough in another area. If you are not good enough as chairman of a party, you are good enough as senator. And the place you are as a senator may also be a learning process. And who knows? In future may even be, you must have learned so much that you will have improved as the chairman of a party. Now, once again, I thank you most sincerely. I'm really overwhelmed. And I am greatly, greatly touched. And all those things that you said that I did not do them alone. And so if I accept the credit, I accept the credit on behalf of many, many who helped me in achieving those things that you talk about. Mention any of them. There were many behind the door and many out there that were helping. And the credit must go to them as well. But the point is this, and I want to make that point again. I believe, and I said it when the camera and the light was on me as I was coming in. I have experienced, I have interacted, I have met great Nigerian engineers, the like of FSTAJOY, Fadini, Awurioba, FSTAJOY, M.T. Usman, who was the first engineer permanent secretary in the Federal Ministry of War, and many of them. They were men of character, men that you could be proud of, and we were proud of. And if not for the foundation they laid, you and I today will not be here. Most of them have gone to the great beyond. May their soul rest in perfect peace. But we are proud of them. And may their good work continue to flourish after them. And they have left legacies that you and I can build on. Not only them, even now, you have the like of your our president, when he met me at the airport and we were talking, we were reminiscing about the past. Of course, when you look at him with the patch of white hair on his head, you will know that he's not a chicken. He has a bit of age. On him. So, what I'm trying to say is this. Whatever those pioneers, those past leaders have done that have created the present for us, there are still more that we can do to create a better future for those who are coming after us. And because of the way they have performed, because of the integrity, commitment, honesty with which they carried out their responsibility, be it in the private or in the public sector, they left a good legacy. And I believe the training of an engineer, which makes him not to leave anything for granted, is good for anything you want to do, be it in private or in public life. You should never leave or take anything for granted or leave anything for granted. I want to thank you. And I want to say this. As I said earlier, there is virtually no walk of life in public or private sector of the economy where engineers are not required. In times gone by, you just hear of engineers. And as Abuki said, you hear civil engineer, mechanical engineer, electrical engineer, and that will be about all. Now, Abuki has invented symmetrical engineer. Abi, what did you invent? Huh? Comediological engineer. Or, you know, that man, unfortunately, he died. He decided to look for something, and around Lagos, people were like going out to party and closing the street. And so he looked at that and he decided to make toilet boxes. So he too became an engineer. Advertisement is sheet business is a serious business. Sheet engineering. And Mr. President, members of the executive and fellows, members and fellows, let us ensure that we have people who are professionally competent, professionally able, but men and women of character, of integrity, of honesty in public life and private life in all aspects of engineering profession. And if we do that, I believe that things may be a little bit better. Let me come back again to Chief Gemade. Being a good engineer, which I know he is, and now being in the Senate, which he is, can he contribute to legislation that have engineering bearing in the National Assembly? What can he? Is there? Of course there. I cannot thank you enough. But let me end on a note after thanking you again. And that is about names. People said, what is in a name? In our part of the world, there's a lot in a name. The white man will name his child Stone. I've never heard of Mr. Stone except among the white. Mr. Food except among the white. Huh? Mr. Boring. Huh? Forest. Bush. Stone. Now, in most African communities, names mean a lot. So when I was born in a part of Nigeria, the vogue then was that after 8 days, you must be given a name. And for them to know that you have been born by a Christian family into a Christian home, you will be given one Hebrew name: Daniel, Solomon, Ezekiel. Governor Ilola, what was your own? What was your own? Isaiah or something? Jeremiah? Simeon. Now, listen now. My own father and mother decided, for the best reason to them, to name me Matthew. Okay? And I grew up to be known Matthew. I went to school, primary school, I was called Matthew. Matthew OLUSEGUN OBASANJO, Aremo is there, and all that. Now, when I grew up, I started asking myself, what is the meaning of this Matthew? OLUSEGUN has meaning. Okikiola has meaning. Even Faji means that you have just added to it, which I told you the other day, has meaning. Now, but not only does Matthew not have meaning as far as I'm concerned. Look at Matthew in the Bible. The man is a stupid tax collector. And then my father and my mother named me Matthew. When I was old enough to refuse it, I dropped Matthew. So anybody who does not want to see my eyes red should stop calling me Matthew. Thank you very much.
Let's put our hands for him, please. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Engineer OLUSEGUN Obasanjo. You have to talk about it. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, before we finally wind up this program, let me make these few announcements. After the program, we are going to be having group photographs. We'll be having group photographs. We'll be having group photographs. Please, we can sit down. We have a list, an order of photographs we are going to take with our distinguished guests. Please, can we sit down? Let me quickly invite Aboki for Christ, just for 1 minute, to spice up this program before I now round this program off. Aboki for Christ, please. Just 1 minute.
Thank you. Very distinguished ladies and gentlemen, may I most respectfully ask that you please put your hands together for our celebrant. I actually wanted to have the attention of our celebrant. That is my new father, my biological father. Yes. And actually, Daddy, just to let you know, I actually came with my bag. Thank God my house rent in Port Harcourt has expired. So we'll be going home from here. And, sir, you said? Confirmed. Somebody is asking for DNA. Confirmed. If you look at my face and his face, you will know. Only those that have spiritual eyes will understand. When Daddy cut his cake and the musicians, they gave interlude of less than 5 minutes. Yoruba people, they show themselves. Those people, I have traveled far and wide. I have not seen a set of people that like to party like Yoruba. Owambe. Yoruba people, if Yoruba man don't say bagiri, bagiri, even if na national anthem, they go dance to it. I was looking at Daddy during the national anthem, he was dancing. I said, I'm telling you, when you go to a party like this, tell people without any fear or favor that the people that knows how to organize party pass in this life na Yoruba. I'm not saying it because I'm Yoruba. It is something that has been proven. Daddy, you say? I should be Aboki? Daddy, you are my new daddy. So that they won't say, you say your first father is not the real one. This one too, uncle. When I was coming in, I saw food arranged. There is no how a Yoruba man will do party, there will be no food. The only problem is say, drink, feel no day. When you attend Yoruba people party, food go plenty, drink no the day. But attend Igbo man party, drink go plenty, food no the day. So me, I'm usually advocate. I usually advocate that Yoruba should marry Igbo. So that when Yoruba bring food, Igbo go bring drink, everything go set. Now only Yoruba people party where you go attend, as you they enter from gate, now then they serve you food. From gate, Begiriwa, Ilawa, which one do you want? I don't attend one Yoruba party where we say they arrange food. They arrange food from like here. Watch out. To here, now only my. They all use food kilos. And I tell people, when rich men in Nigeria, we don't do buffet. Let's stop deceiving ourselves. They will tell us this party is a buffet. Go and serve yourself. Now lie, we know they do buffet for Nigeria. Buffet is supposed to be a setting where you go and serve yourself. True or yes? But my brother, now when you go reach the table of the buffet, now then you go discover, say, another person did the other side of the table. Now you hold the spoon. Because they don't trust you. When rich men go for buffet, they don't eat too much. Look at a rich man at the table of buffet, picks his plate. How are you? Fine. All right, what's this? They say jollof rice. He say, no. This is late night. I don't like heavy food. What about this? They say fried rice. He say too much oil. What of this? They say beef. He say, that's red meat. I don't like red meat. What of this? They say chicken. He say white meat. Rich men, they know the color of all the meat. They know one day leave their money. What is it? They say, that's salad. Okay, just a little. All right, thank you. What of this? They say snail. Okay, just one. All right, thank you. Rich man, you don't go. But a poor man. Now from the queue, now you go begin to hear in siren. You go to blow siren. Why this queue not they move now? And all these people, why did this queue say they don't belong to our political party, oh. Now because they hear say we want top price, now he made that okay. Finally, he can't reach, carry the plate. He go come they greet the person where they serve the food. My brother, how are you? Your face looks familiar, so that I go serve and well. What is this? They say fried rice. They say put where? Nah. Put where? What of this? They say jollof rice. They say put on top. What of this coconut rice? Shift the jollof rice. Put them. What of this? They say na beef. He say put 6. What of this? They say chicken. He say put 7. What of this? They say na snail. He say, una get snail here. Doctor say make I dey chop snail. Put 24. As they collect, they go. He go come see. He say, what is it? They say na fufu. Una get fufu here. They come. Go carry another plate. Come back. Oh yeah, give me fufu. They say how many? He say put 30. He say put 30 because he don't know where he go see tomorrow food. As they collect, they go. He go come reach one food where he never see before. He go look the food. Look the guy where they serve. What is this? That one will not mention one foreign name. He said, this is Tasty Boristus. He go turn, ask him friend, you know him? That one go say, I don't know. He said, put the chopper and they know they die. Put them, I know go there, put them. Very distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I will not drop the microphone this afternoon until I appreciate someone who made it possible for me to be here today, somebody that I've known for a very long time. I know him when he was suffering. I know him when he was suffering very well. I'm talking of Honorable Prince Adeniran Ibitoye, a.k.a. Kilomodemo. That guy don't trek for his life. Oh. I hope he's not in this hall. That guy don't trek. So he don't waka. So when he reach house, come out the shoe, keep the shoe continue to waka about. But I really appreciate him for this wonderful privilege that he has given me to be standing before this kind of men of timber caliber. I really deeply appreciate you. Thank you so much, sir. God bless you. And Daddy, like I said, I'll be waiting outside with my bag so that we can go home. Thank you very much. God bless you.
Can we please put our hands together for our booking for Christ? Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, before I invite the person that will speak to us next, let me just read out the order of photographs. Our celebrant will be taking a group photograph with the president and his wife. He will also take a photograph with the Deputy President and his wife. He will take with the dignitaries on the up table, and he will take with the National ISCO members of the Nigerian Society of Engineers. He will take with branch chairman and also with Abeokuta branch. He will take with our Abeokuta branch, with the chairman of the institutions and the fellows. But there is something I didn't see here. I didn't see any photograph with the MC. I think that is unfair. This list has to be restructured. Because Baba took with the comedian who came here to speak for 2 minutes and 5 minutes, and I've been standing here for the whole day, and my name is not in the list. The person that provided this list, we have to restructure it. If not, there will be no group photograph. In fact, the MC will take first, because I'm having the microphone now. Baba, am I in order? Thank you very much, sir. That has been approved. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, whatever has a beginning, they say has an end. We have judiciously carried out every item in our program, but we cannot do that without having our vote of thanks. To do that is a very distinguished and respected engineer. I call him a 5-star general, because in the American system, a 5-star general is equal to a field marshal. You know, the company I work with is also called field marshal, because he is the only person who has served. He's my chairman, the Abuja branch, for 5 years, and the only person who has served also the Nigerian Society of Engineers as vice president for 5 years. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, let me welcome on stage our president-elect, the deputy president of the Nigerian Society of Engineers, Engineer Adekunle Olumuyiwa Mokolu, fellow Nigerian Society of Engineers, for the vote of thanks. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much. See, the president of the great and honorable Nigerian Society of Engineer Otis Oliver Tapugo Ayeji, FNSC FAH, the celebrant, our Baba, like the comedian instructed, we do not call the name of your Baba in public. And so I will just call you the name I normally call you, Babami. And to remind the comedian that there is plenty of room in my father's house, so you can just go to Abeokuta straight away. Your Excellencies here present, past governors, state governors, our own engineer Benabas Kemadi FNSC FAH, distinguished senator, fellows of the Nigerian Society of Engineers that are present here, the friends of the celebrants that are present here, members of the Nigerian Society of Engineers, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. I stand here also as a testimony of what our celebrant has done for Nigerians, and particularly, like I said, for me. Somebody said, this is a 5-time vice president of the Nigerian Society of Engineers. But by the grace of God and the encouragement of the celebrant, in 2011, when I met him in the house to tell him that Babami, I lost that election by 7 votes. He kept quiet for about 30 seconds. And in that silence that was so thick, he was communicating with me. When he raised up his head, he said, look, Kule, don't give up. Don't give up. Do whatever it takes to get there. Say, Baba, it's a long journey. He said, a long journey will always be reducing as you take the step. So what's your problem? If you are qualified to go on, just go on. And so it is that I went there to repeat the class. Thank you, Baba. That today, I'm now President-elect, Deputy President of Nigerian Center of Engineers, and by extension, President-elect. And so, in giving my vote of thanks quickly, because of our time, the first thanks actually is to my president, Engineer IAG. Very many people did not realize that I had nothing to do with this occasion, because people thought that because of my closeness and my relationship to Baba as a member of his extended family, that I was the one doing all this. That really is not true. When we went to Abeokuta to invite Baba for this occasion,